Let me kick off with two questions. One is, maybe raise your hands if you made more than 3 phone calls this morning. I cannot see the audience very well, but I think I don't see many hands. Let me ask you, please raise your hand if you made more than 3 conversations through WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, similar conversations. And probably some people are still doing it even right now. So the topic I'm talking about is how to use conversations like Web Messenger or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp to the benefit of your business. If you want to Google it, it's called Conversational Commerce. Just let me share you one personal example. I travel a lot. I speak at a lot of these kind of conferences. And then very often I'm bound to miss my plane. So what happens? I need to reschedule it. It means I need to go to the website, I need to go into the app, or I, even worse, have to listen to hold music, which makes me wait for 30 minutes. I don't want that as a consumer. I simply want to tell the airline through WhatsApp, hey, you know my identity, because we are in a relationship through WhatsApp, just like my friends. I'm going to be late, reschedule my flight, you got my credit card details, and that's it. It would take me 30 seconds instead of the 20 minutes it's taking me right now. So the question we'll be asking ourselves in like 3 years' time, why on earth did we use websites, interactive voice responses, or apps in the first place? Because everybody is on WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, WeChat in China, these kind of platforms. So let me start with a definition. Conversational commerce is the ability for people to communicate with brands through conversations from any device on their own time. Now, the most mystique thing of this definition is on their own time, which requires a little bit more explanation. The first parts are simple, right? It's people, it's consumers, it's anybody, and you would just be talking to a brand the same way you're talking to your friends. The same thing with your friends, because people, they don't immediately demand a reaction. The same with your friends. You want to go with 5 friends on a holiday in a month or so. You don't need a response immediately. You just send in the morning, hey guys, let's go on a short skiing break. Let's schedule something. And then the first one responds in like 3 seconds. The other one responds in a week. And that's fine. As long as I don't have to stay on the phone listening to hold music while all my 5 friends have responded. So this is what we call on your own time. So I just send my WhatsApp message to KLM saying, I'm at this wonderful conference. It takes a little longer. I'm sorry. I need a flight later. Sort it out. They sort it out. And then after this session, I got my WhatsApp message back saying, Mr. de Boer, it's all been taken care of. You're fine. Your flight will be 2 hours later, something like that. This is the new paradigm that people will be demanding from brands. However, that's the second part of the definition you've been reading probably. This is going to happen at massive scale. And this is where artificial intelligence is going to come to the rescue, because it's impossible for a brand to staff a contact center with millions of agents to talk to millions of people. So we need artificial intelligence. You may know them as chatbots, who can take over part of the human labor. So it's not just us. LivePerson, we are a NASDAQ-listed company that are promoting this new paradigm. Facebook already in 2014 acquired WhatsApp for 19 billion, which is really strategic investment, because at the time they were just doing a couple of millions in revenue. So talk about a strategic investment. Apple announced 2 years ago Apple Business Chat together with Apple Pay. So you can do conversational commerce now through iMessage, which in that context is called Apple Business Chat, and pay right away. Google is investing heavily together with all the telcos, also across Europe, to give SMS a new life. It's called RCS, Rich Communication Services, and already 15 million users enabled natively on their phone with the same rich messaging experience that the youngsters are more used to, but old people who still use SMS, and airlines do, because the flight is delayed, to my delight, very often, so I receive an SMS. But now you can also respond to it, and you can also use the rich format with all the pictures and the response possibilities. So it's not just something that consumers are adopting, it's also driven by the largest companies in the world, like Facebook, Google, and the like. So if you look at the four biggest platforms, they all have 100 billion monthly active users, and there are a few others. It's developing very rapidly, but what you can see is that collectively, only on the Facebook platforms, 100 billion messages are being sent every day. Now, it's been predicted that 470 million extra messaging users will be around in 2021. As a marketeer, that's a huge target segment. It's bigger even than the whole population of the United States. Now, these are a lot of big numbers, but let's look at our personal life. You wake up in the morning, what is the first thing you do? You check your phone to see if there are messages. Then you're on the train to go to work. What do? Again, your message with some of your friends, your colleagues, anybody. And then at work, and even in a conference like here, people are watching their phone to see and saying, hey, I cannot talk now, but I can talk to you through messaging. So this is where people are. This is where you are. Now, you would expect brands to use that more often, and actually we see now a tornado in adoption, but many brands still think that they're customer-centric through what they have currently, which is the website, which is the app, or it's the interactive voice response system. We call them a digital fortress, because as a consumer, it's a wonderful website maybe, but I need to learn how the website works. So only 15% of all commerce is done e-commerce through websites, and half of that is through Amazon, Booking.com, etc. So as a brand, I want to sell something, I want to have the relationship with the customer. Well, maybe I do sell something, not enough yet, because all the big brands want to do more in e-commerce. But even if I have the deal, I don't have the relationship with the consumer, because they go through, if it's a hotel room, through Booking.com, or if it's running shoes, they just buy it at Amazon. Chat is something that we used to love, because the company that I work for, the founder, Robert Locascio, he invented it 20 years ago. But still, it has the problem from the brand perspective that you look at a website, you start saying something to the chatbot, and the chatbot is actually responding, and you're going up and down, and then your mother gives you a call, so you lose the conversation because you've got to focus on something else, and then there's no way for the brand to come back to you through that chat session. So that's the difference between what we call chat and messaging. With messaging, you are in the messaging application, in the phone, and even if I'm looking for life insurance, for example, I explain why I need it, I go through WhatsApp, and then I'm interrupted. And it doesn't matter, because like 7 days later, the brand can still go back to me asking, Mr. de Boer, do you still want that insurance? And I say, yes, or I say, no, thank you. No offense. You don't need to do retargeting, which is a huge industry for marketeers, because it's a waste of money. I'm looking for a washing machine, I buy one, and the rest of my life I'm haunted by advertising for washing machines. Don't want it, waste of your money, waste of my time. You just enter a conversation. You don't need to come back to me through the website. You don't need to come back to me through the search engine. You just have the relationship. So what are ways to enter a conversation? Well, there are quite many. The most simple is you just do the same thing as you've always done, a display ad, for example, on Facebook. However, now you click on it, and instead of going to a landing page, which is a website, which leaves me alone, so I'm looking for a new pair of jeans, I say, okay, I like this pair of jeans on Instagram, then I would go to the website of the jeans manufacturer, the jeans retailer. Instead of that, you kick off the WhatsApp application, or the Facebook Messenger application, or iMessage on the mobile phone, pre-populated with a message saying, hey, I'm interested in this new jeans. That means, for those that are legally with a legal background, and probably you've learned the hard way, it means that it's GDPR proof, so the data protection, the privacy law of the European Union applies here. But I've clicked on the ad, I've entered the conversation, it was pre-populated on my phone with that message saying, hey, I'm interested with the, about this jeans. So I click twice, so it's a two-phase commit, and it holds legally. At that moment, as a brand, so the people that are selling the jeans, they are just next to my friends and family in my WhatsApp application, and they can always reach out to me. So even if I don't buy it, they would still be able to come back to me after like 3 weeks and saying, hey, because something that's specifically for you, it's a little bit stylish, but it's still classic, so would you like this one? If I don't like it, I just say stop the conversation and you're out. No need for retargeting, much better conversion ratios, etc. Another way of doing it is more in the service-oriented industry. So I bought the shoes, I bought the jeans, something's wrong, I make a phone call and I'm waiting for like half an hour. And then there's this voice saying, it's unusually busy. Well, it's always unusually busy because I'm always on hold for like half an hour, but okay, I'm frustrated. But then the voice says, okay, press 1 if you want to enter the conversation. I press 1 and immediately on my phone, I'm in a conversation. I just have a very simple question. I say, the jeans were not the right size. Okay, then the bot says, perfect. We do apologize. We'll come to collect it. You get a coupon for a new one. And if you just make sure it's in the right package again, it's all done. This is something that, again, takes me as a consumer like half a minute instead of the 20 minutes that otherwise I would have to go on the website or in the app or on the IVR system. So this is one more example. You can also be a little bit more creative. In Stadia in the United States, you pay a lot to watch the game, and then you want a beer or you want a hamburger. That will take you like 30 minutes if you line up. So what you do, you stick a QR code in the front of the front seat. So I now point my phone at that QR code. Again, this conversation starts. I say, hello. I don't even have to say who I am because the QR code knows that I'm sitting in this seat. So I say, hello, I want 2 hamburgers and 2 beer. And then after 3 minutes, they're delivered to my seat. So this is a little bit more more creative. There are many ways. Actually, for marketeers, this is a great way to engage with your brands, to talk about them. Whatever you can think of that you could think of in the past, but with website it just didn't work. Although we tried to make them personal. In this case, you have these personal conversations, and any kind of idea you had in the past that technology couldn't make happen, you can make happen now. And again, it's for marketing, so you can have conversations around the brand, answer questions. It's for selling. You can actually take the order, get the payment through a platform like WhatsApp or iMessage. And it's also for care, so it's also reducing your cost. I'm talking to brands who have like 20 million in costs on an annual basis just to service their consumers who've bought something, and we can easily cut that in half through messaging. So this is just how it looks. You see that there is grandma, there is my daughter, there is my friends, but there's also Land Rover who's just asking me what's the best day to reach out to do your new test drive. So this is where, as a marketeer, you want to be. You want to be close to the heart, literally, inside the app, and you can have that conversation. This is what we call conversational commerce. Now, why does it matter? Oh, it's nice, right? It's something new, so we love it, and we've been talking about a lot of new stuff today. But if you look at the business results, you see a 3-time higher increase in return on ad spend. So you spend like 1 million, that's what I always ask to a brand, you spend like 1 million, small brand, in advertising. They get 10 million revenue out of it, they would get like 30 million revenue out of it. That's, if you're a stock-listed company, impacting your stock price. So that's huge. So the business outcome is amazing. I actually wished that the previous speaker would have been after me, because this is mainstream, going to be mainstream very quick. And then you can also do this in voice, right? So this is something that will come like 1 or 2 years later. But I would recommend you to start with this now, so you can also do it in voice at a certain moment. So what you also see is that the consumer is much more satisfied. So we see like 20% extra customer satisfaction, or like 20 points in net profit score. And for those that are more on the customer contact side, you see that agents are much more happy, which is very easy to understand, because if it's an outbound call to sell something, hey, Mr. Boer, would you like a new pair of jeans? I don't like it because I don't want to be interrupted in what I'm doing, so I'm already frustrated. And also when it's inbound call, I had been waiting for 30 minutes, so that already requires a psychology degree to get me in peace to have the conversation. And it also means that you have less attrition in your agents. So you cut your costs in half, you have your revenue 3 times, and the customer is much more happy. So just a few examples. Australia Open University, they launched interactive ads, so kicking WhatsApp after clicking on the app. They had 40 times more engagement. They had 3 times lift in conversion ratio. So imagine you have an ad, people click on it, and typically they go to the website. They don't buy anything. They buy like they buy around 0.1%, and now they would buy something like 0.3, 0.4%. So that's a lift in conversion rate. It's significant, and it also leads to a reduced cost in lead. This is more for the left part of the brain, but it really matters. If you do this, you also have enough money to fund your creative campaigns. One more example, a large retailer, can't mention the name, but you can guess it's the biggest in the world. They had a 4-time increase in conversion. T-Mobile, similar story, 3 times more sales out of their advertising. So this is actually quite hot stuff, and I do thank you that you stayed so long, because you must be hungry. I just want to tell you still a little bit about how to do this, because this is all about the why it matters. Now a little bit about how to do this at scale. So you are looking at something that's personal, which is different from what we used to say personalized ads in the past, because that was still segmentation. But now, for the first time in humankind, it's really personal, which means that as a brand, you can easily have like 1 million conversations during a day or during a week. You can only do that if you do have artificial intelligence in place with bots, otherwise you'll be overwhelmed and then the whole user experience goes down the drain again. So you do need artificial intelligence for it. Which means that actually I was born as a computer programmer, and later I became a CMO and a leader of a marketing agency, so I still have these 2 parts of my brain. You need to educate your workforce or reschool yourself to understand a little bit about how programming works. However, the good news is that it's so intuitive that if you're a domain expert, you would be able to implement the rules very quickly. And very quickly, I mean in a couple of hours. So you need to have some logic to your domain expertise, so asking the right questions. What's the size of your legs if it's about buying a jeans? And then you're back to your creativity, where you can ask the really interesting questions. So it's about the left and the right brain. And I think that there's a whole new era where this lady that spoke this morning about creativity, where they find a new field of application, and it's going to be more relevant than ever. So what you're talking about is conversational designers. So we used to employ in agencies web designers, and they need to be reschooled to become conversational designers. Conversational design means building blocks with images, tone of voice, all of that, similar to a website, but now it's more building blocks because every experience is individual. So you need to be prepared for many different conversations, but you've got still the building blocks, your tone of voice. Do I speak in a familiar way? In many languages, there's a difference between formal and informal. All of that needs to be designed, and of course, also the whole imagery needs to be done. So this is just an example of how this web design is now turned into a conversational design. And then the most important thing, it's about intent. So I click on the ad. What do I want to do? Do I need to know about the CO2 emission of this producer? Do I want to know if the thing fits me? You need to figure out very quickly the intent. I had a conversation with a lady of IKEA, and she had a very interesting case. They had a client entering a conversation saying, I don't sleep well at night. Well, if you're a bot, that's very hard to understand, because you think, okay, what am I going to do? They will give you a sleeping pill. So the bot should answer, okay, can you tell me a little bit more about your problem? And then the consumer said, well, it's not light enough in my room. So then, of course, the bot could say, well, we can help you with the curtains, and these are the varieties we all have. So this is intent, and it can be buying, it can be service or general questions. And that's where the natural language understanding components of the software play a big role, but you still have to program it to some extent. And then it all leads to routing, where you see a bot and a human agent. So for example, there's first multiple choice questions, and then you see that it's going to be complicated, so then it's handing over to a human being. We have customer contact centers of around 300-400 people working with bots actually doing this at scale at this moment. So to sum up, because I see still people are really hungry and leaving the room, summary, your prospects are there, so you better get there. Already in 2021, there will be another continent like America that you could address with this technology. It focuses on the whole journey, so you have to rethink the silos in big corporates, because there's a head of sales and there's a head of service, and now they have to work together in the first time in the history of the corporation. And then artificial intelligence and humans, they work together to drive these personal experience. So you need to get acquainted with how to build a bot, how to work with agents, and how to trigger them with an ad that works. For the rest, your creativity stays the same. So I'm not preaching the death of this profession. I'm just preaching that it will enter a new era where it's going to be even much more relevant. So we've been doing this now for like 3 to 4 years, so it's still quite new. So what we see now is the third generation, but we've been doing this for like 250 brands across the world. The big brands are embracing it right now. If you want to talk to know more about it, just Google Conversational Commerce or see me over lunch or tomorrow. Thank you.